chance to look over our minutes from our October the 28th meeting? If so, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Carl and a second by Matthew. All in favor? All right, Bill abstained. I don't believe he was here at our meeting. All right, we'll move on down to number 3, financial report.
All right, the only thing we've had in the account is we had some interest and then the check for the insurance that we approved last month. So the total in the account for DDA is $65,879.
Any questions for Carl?
No, I'm sorry, we also had the check for Jerry Cole that came out last month for the facade grant.
Okay. Any questions for Carl? All right, moving on down to number 4, update on the electronic charging station for downtown.
I was able to talk to a gentleman at Georgia Power. Brad was his name. He gave me some good information. Said he'd be willing. Talked to Brad at Georgia Power. Said he'd be willing to come and give a presentation if needed, if we desired to go that far. Sent over some slides as well. I don't think we have them printed here, but I can pass them along as well, with the differences of kind of what type of charging stations they recommend, some of the information along with the actual cost of the unit. Georgia Power has some options as far as being able to do a 5-year financing plan, or you could pay all up front. He was not aware of any grants available for that. So I have not gotten back to the people with the Green Initiative with Georgia to see if they have any grants available for that. Do you know if we would be able to access anything under the rural grant that we have? Okay. And, yeah. So I can pass these along just so y'all can kind of see some of the information with that if y'all are interested. But just my primary focus was, one, to see if there were any grants available for it, and then to see interest that might be. The price tag on there was $20,000 installed. So I don't know that it's justifiable to have that as something the city would need to spend the money on right now. But there's a map in here that does show that there's a big void in between us and Douglasville for the stations. So.
Any questions for Andy? All right, we'll move on down to number 2, discussion of board member applications.
So we had 2 people, new people, to apply for Michael Young's resigned position, which is Dr. Nancy Mims and Dominique Conte. Then Ellen Wynn McBrayer asked to be reconsidered, and then Bill Taylor reapplied for his expired term. So you guys just need to figure out how you want to go in the process of interviewing like you did last time, or how you want to handle those.
What is the board's decision?
Do we want to, I guess, do the interviews again, or
See, Bill was one of the interviewers last time.
right?
I'm not going to do that this time.
We could also, we could also, I have a motion in mind to make an appointment, say recommendation, but if we want to do the interviews, that's fine. What do y'all think over there?
I think just based on their applications, I'm okay with going with that.
I am too.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion that we reappoint Mr. Bill Taylor and also appoint, or recommend for appointment, Ellen McBrayer.
Okay, got a motion from Carl. Do I have a second?
You have a motion from
Not from Carl. From
Matthew. You'll have a second from Carl.
All right, got a second from Carl. All in favor? All opposed? Bill abstains.
I abstain.
Okay, Bill abstained.
And Kim was opposed.
You voted what, Kimberly?
She voted no.
Okay, voted no.
I guess we could have, you should have had some discussion maybe.
Is there a reason we don't like Nancy Mims? I like Dr. Mims. I'm just not sure. I read her, her form, and I know that she's into historic preservation. I love Ellen. Actually, either one of them would be fine.
Okay, so the vote was,
Ellen, for me, the deciding factor between those two candidates was that Ellen's business being downtown, I just thought that was more in the vein of Downtown Development Authority.
Okay.
That was my thought.
And it's
I'll
not
vote
that
for
we
that
don't
then.
like anybody. I mean, I like all of them.
Oh, I
Right.
understand.
Just, yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I change then and just say, that's fine? I would vote for
okay,
that.
so that was
Okay.
unanimous then, except for Bill abstaining, is that right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, because we should have had discussion first, so we had the
Okay, yeah.
discussion.
My fault.
All right.
So this won't go tomorrow.
No, I mean, we can, I think I have time to get it in for December 10th, Tom, on the council agenda for December 10th. If y'all vote tonight, yeah.
Yep. So we did.
So we did, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Okay, moving on down to number 3, update on thank you letters for the bypass funding support. Tracy did write that letter, and it was sent out a couple of weeks ago to everybody that we sent it out the first time, thanking them for their help on the project. So everything's done there. Okay, moving on to number 5, discussion of December meeting. Didn't know whether there's anything up for December meeting. We usually have an eating and meeting, just according to whether everybody wants to eat or not even have a meeting at all.
Right. I mean, that's the Monday before Christmas, so I don't think we had any, I think we just talked about last meeting, not having a meeting for December, but that's up to you guys for sure. Y'all normally
Yeah,
just do dinner.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we have anything that's going to, I don't think we have anything that's going to be pressing for December. So,
So do we want to have an eating meeting then?
Yeah.
not that Monday.
Not that, yeah, okay, yeah.
Monday before Christmas, I'm going to be a little busy.
What is everybody's schedule?
Well, if we didn't do it on a Monday, what day would we do it? Like on a Friday evening or a,
Friday's bad for me.
We can do it on a Monday, just not that Monday.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think the Monday before is December 18th, maybe?
16.
16th? I'm available on the 16th.
That good for everybody?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
can make that.
So
Yep.
Monday, December the 16th at
No.
Olive Tree, probably because
That's the only place open on Mondays.
The only place will take reservations too, I think.
And then what time?
I want to do 6.
Let's do 6, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Moving on down to number 6, public comment. I think Mr. Matthews wanted a minute here.
Appreciate y'all humoring me here. Y'all something here. Y'all can move this over. I know most of you folks is staying there.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Sir?
My name's Jeff Matthews, 215 West Bankhead Highway, Villa Rica, Georgia, 30180. Still got the number on the front of the building because I've been a Villa Rica booster for a long time. And I have a community opportunity here that there has been a good bit of misinformation, disinformation, and then Facebook gets a hold of it, so I don't know whether it's fake news or not. But what we are proposing to do is there's a piece of property out between the backside of Pizza Hut and the school's ball field. There's a 14.88 acre piece that was owned by the Leathers family, and then I've had a piece of property there for 34 years that is the front door to that other piece of property. And I bought that piece of property. It used to be the Bagwell place. It was a pasture. Shorty Bagwell owned it. And I bought it, did the Hardee's, did the Waffle House, Pizza Hut, and over the years I would get calls regularly from somebody in Atlanta wanting to buy that piece of frontage. And I'd always ask them, well, what are you gonna do with it? Well, we can't say. What do you want for your piece of property? And I said, well, I don't wanna tell you that until you tell me what you got in mind. And usually because I thought I might could get more money if I knew what they were gonna do. But 3 times that's happened. First time, we got a pilot truck stop in Temple, Georgia, because I wouldn't give them the front door. That was the access to that piece of property. The Leathers track was cut off when I-20 came through, and it did not have any frontage of a commercial nature. Second time, same story, same broker. Why do you care? Well, because I live here and because I've got other property in the area that would be impacted, good, bad, or indifferent. It would be impacted. Second time, we got a Flying J truck stop at Temple. I get this call again about a year ago. Now we're getting a Love's truck stop at exit 205 in Alabama. I didn't want a truck stop, but I've been waiting a long time to get a quality developer that does something that is good for not only me, because I am interested in getting paid, but it's also good for everything else in the area and for Villa Rica. What they're proposing to do is a mix of market rate apartments. There's no subsidy, none of the usual things that you hear that everybody jumps back on apartments because they're gonna run downhill. They're going to do a mix of 71 one-bedroom units, 112 two-bedroom units, which will be for golden girl relationships, or it'd be for a school teacher with one child or a school teacher and a buddy that want to double up. You see a lot of that now because of economics. And there will be 12 three-bedroom units, which none of that lends itself to a huge number of kids in the schools. And I've got a report here. I didn't print all of them, or didn't print everybody one, but it relates to the fact that if you do market rate garden apartments like these folks do, and they've done them at the Villages. They've got one going in Florida now in the Villages, which is one of the best developments down that way in Orlando. They have done them in, Savannah, Mobile, different places, Panama City. They typically build these units, keep them 7 to 10 years, and sell them. What really sold me on them, in addition to the fact that they built the St. Regis Hotel in Atlanta and built Brand Bank, so they know what they're doing, is they did a deal in Dallas, Georgia, back in the 90s, and they sold it in 2002, and it's in that packet I gave you, and you can ride up there today, and it still looks good. Doesn't get a lot of police calls, doesn't gin up a lot of students in the schools, because it's designed for singles and doubles, and somebody, if you had a man, wife, and 2 kids, they could get in a 3-bedroom if it were available. The rents will be $1.40 a foot starting off, so a single bedroom, 700 square foot unit, the starting rent will be about $9.80 a month. That means whoever's gonna live there has got to make about $50,000 a year, 50 to 55 if it's a single school teacher or nurse, whatever. This is not going to be a diminution in value for Villa Rica, Georgia. And the other thing that is relevant is school kids, and this is a study done by the Urban Land Institute and the Sierra Club, which is one of the most, the Sierra Club would like for us all just to jump off of a cliff and let everything grow back up to nature. That's their mantra. But they say that a market rate luxury apartment development will create 19 to 21 students per 100 doors. So this deal here would be looking at 40 potential students, K through 12. We met with the school. They had some concerns about dust during construction. They had some concerns about quality of the residents. Let me assure you, if you're gonna charge somebody and you're gonna build this category of unit, you're not gonna rent it like I might do if, on some of my rentals where I've got an empty, it bothers me. Well, they have a professional management company that takes care of everything from credit report, background check, full meal deal. You're not gonna see somebody, because the money they spend, and they're going to do more than this, but I don't know if you're aware of it. But September 30th, 2019, Hickory Falls Apartments sold. Been there since '03. They're 16 years old. They sold for, there's 220 units, sold for $31,150,000. Last year, they paid $197,000 in property tax. They'll pay more than that this year when Miss Bearden picks up that transfer tax. Trust me, she'll go up. That's $142,000 a door. Every unit there is $142,000. You don't pay that kind of money and put somebody in there that's not gonna be a good rent paying and someone that will take care of your property. So, all that said, and I'll leave you this Urban Land Institute study, but all that said, Jerry was kind enough to write me a letter saying, hey, I'm for it, it'll bring dollars to downtown, it'll bring people, because these units, these folks will have a couple of things. Number one, they're gonna have discretionary income. They'll have good jobs, or they won't be in there. They will have some disposable money. I've never had much of that because mine was always earned pretty hard. But they'll be, by and large, younger, and they will be more mobile, and they'll be up here and will spend money. The second thing they'll have is they'll have time, because there's a lot of people in this country, and I'm beginning to understand the mentality, that are renters by choice, not by necessity or need, but they don't want to cut the grass, clean the gutters, spray the yard. That's not going to do it. This development will have swimming pool, tennis courts, dog park, bocce ball court, walk-in park. It's going to be really nice. And I own other property in the area, or I wouldn't be interested in getting them there, because I know, as John F. Kennedy said, a rising tide lifts everybody's boat. And we've all seen what a receding tide can do to everybody's boat around here. But, as I said before, Jerry was good enough to write me a letter personally. But what I would like for y'all to consider as an authority is a resolution saying, hey, this is the kind of development that we've been looking for. Because I was talking to Mr. Elliott earlier today, and I hadn't realized this until I rode around town a little bit. I do a lot of that. But in Villa Rica, Georgia, start to finish, concept to lot creation, there has not been a new deal done in the last 10 years. 10 years. We've had a lot of people that came in and bought some bank reset lots. We've had a new street paved out here at Liberty Point, but it was on an existing approved subdivision. And that's what I'm not really fired up about, because I don't think long-term that 15 years from now, 20 years from now, this property, by virtue of having professional management, and it's going to have a huge debt on it. So there will be a lender that comes by every few months to be sure that the grass is cut, the reserve accounts are in place. And if they're not, there'll be some repercussions. So with all that said, if y'all got any questions, be glad to try to answer them. But if y'all think about it, I really would appreciate a resolution, because I know that sometimes from a politician's standpoint, if you have a bunch of people out, there's always those not in my backyard folks. You have people that don't live in town that say, no, we don't need that. It's going to create more traffic. Well, sure it will. Hopefully some of it will come down here. It will create opportunity. And if you are in any kind of a business, you got to have a customer, or nothing happens. Till somebody sells something, nothing gets done. So, any questions?
Mr. Tom?
Jeff, would you tell them how much it is per unit that they're proposing to spend on this thing? Tell them the 142 or?
Yeah, the 142 is what, and that's not a made-up number, that's an actual transfer tax sale. That is a real live number. These guys are proposing to spend $33 million on 195 units, which is north of 160. But these will be granite countertops, full meal deal. It's something that we have not had here, and it's just, you know, I'd just like to see us get something done where you do have folks that have some discretionary income.
Jeff, when it comes to infrastructure, I guess you and Tom Barber and Elliott have discussed that.
Yes, sir.
You don't see any problem, any immediate problem or long-term problem there?
In fact, I really think something like this, with the tap fees and the recurring revenue that this will generate on a concise footprint, will help from a standpoint of infrastructure improvements in other parts of town. Because this piece of property all the infrastructure on site will be done by the developer. Any roads and all that will be done on site. I mean, there are people around town really that think those roads out at Mirror Lake were put in by the city. They weren't. They're put in by developers. And they really do. There's so many misconceptions and myths in the world that I'm amazed that some people get driver's licenses. But just, you know, if you've got any questions, but if y'all would consider that, I'd certainly appreciate it, because it, you know, if we don't do this, if we continue to just sprawl out around the periphery, we're not going to be able to serve the needs of Villa Rica. I appreciate y'all humoring me in this.
And I just want to say, I appreciate you turning down these other offers and waiting for something quality like this.
And it's not
That's-
totally altruistic. I just know
Oh,
that a truck stop wouldn't help me, but
Mhm.
this will. This will help.
Yep.
What would roughly be the timetable for this, Jeff?
They are, and the packet is in here. These guys have done this one time before. They got it pretty well dialed in. You'd probably begin to see some construction about this time next year, because they're still studying. There's a blue line stream on the property that's got to be dealt with. They've got an engineer that, you know, you start talking about runoff coefficients and f of x, and you sort of lose me. But he can do it, and they would do that. So I'd say you'd be talking about the first units would probably come online about 2 years from now. Probably late '21, maybe early 2022.
And the exit would be right there between where Pizza Hut and Hardee's is, right in that
Yes,
area
sir.
there?
We will tear down the Pizza Hut. It's 32 years old. It's seen its day. It's
Is it
time.
that old?
It's that old, yes, sir.
Jeez.
It's 1987. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, it's relocating down to the corner there where about Romero's used to be.
Yeah, the-
Food outlet.
Yeah, but it's going to change, and that's what people don't understand about change. It's all gonna change. It's the only constant in life is change. But that whole industry's changing. The new Pizza Hut down there will be delivery and carry out only. It won't have a place to go in, sit down, have a waitress, and so the whole industry's changed. It's just like, you know, Blockbuster changed when Netflix came along.
Any questions, Jeff?
I'd like to hear from Mr. Barber on this.
What's your question?
The question is, what do you think about the proposal that Jeff has made? Now, I remember all the truck stop hoopla, and I am grateful that that did not occur here. But what is your opinion about the population density that this would generate infrastructure? Is there any bonds associated with it at all? What?
Not for us.
That's, excuse me, let me add one more point. Can y'all hear me all right?
Yeah.
You got to go up there.
Okay. One more thing that I thought about today, if this was an industrial customer coming to town, going to spend $33 million or produce a $33 million deal, they would be asking for free land. They'd want the county and the city to get together and put in the road, grade the road. They'd want tax abatement for 10 years. And then they'd move at the end of that 10 years, generally, if you look at Lowe's out there where Sugar Foods is now. And they want a bond inducement from the city. These folks are not asking for that. They understand it's market rate, and they, they've done it before. So, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Considering the potential for a lot of apartments on the horizon here, what do you think about it, Tom?
This will be the best one we get. I did one at the end of my time in Fairburn, and it was designed to lease at $110 a square foot. My other apartments there were about 80 cents a square foot, the older ones. So, well, I'm trying to wrap my head around 140 here, because 140, that's a pretty good chunk. But the one in Fairburn did so well that the guys that built it are building another complex across the street. So what do I know? The 110 filled up, in less than a year. So, but I mean, y'all know the market. We, this is sort of anecdotal, but I've watched several of my staff try to rent since they've been here, and I've talked to real estate agents. I mean, I've tried to sort of get a feel for what's going on out there. I've also asked my inspectors, as they're going out and having to work inside homes that are under construction, how many times they see a for sale sign in front of a new home. And up until August, the answer was never. So every home that was being built was sold. Now I'm starting to finally see some rentals. We're starting to see investors have new houses built in clusters and renting them, but there's very little available rental property in Villarica. To the point that like one of my staff actually rented a home in Carrollton because of that, because they literally couldn't find anything in Villarica. A couple of days on the market and it's gone. So the other couple of comment that I would make is I have sort of two goals in my job. One is to create a downtown parking problem, and the other is to create a traffic problem. So, you're asking the wrong guy about the traffic part, because that's my goal. Then it becomes my goal to fix the traffic problem, but I got to create it first before I can fix it. So I'm trying to make it worse, because if I don't, we have two choices to me. We've got to borrow tens of millions of dollars to fix our infrastructure. And we're going to pay for that either by adding people and making money on them, or charging the people that are here now more money. That's your two choices. So which one we want to do? Because I've already done a whole lot of the second one. A lot. We raised sewer rates 75% since I got here.
I've noticed that.
That's not palatable again. And we've raised water rates a little bit, not much, some. So we could do more of that. But it's way better for the community if we can build in a situation like this where all the infrastructure development is internal to the development and connecting to existing, which is what we'll have there. Just about every other project that I'm dealing with of any size is going to require, replacement water lines or upgraded sewer or something. This will be one of the only ones we do that's in a location that takes advantage of what's already here without us having to add to it. And we get Pizza Hut moved, which is, you know, sort of an added bonus, I guess.
Any questions? Any comments?
Well, Jeff, this is outside the DDA area, but certainly a rising tide does lift all the boats. There's no doubt about that. And some people may think it would be overstepping our bounds to recommend something that's out of our purview. But since it will potentially benefit all of downtown with spendable funds, people, I think we can really give it a lot of consideration and kick it around a little bit.
Well, I appreciate y'all doing that. And, I really do. And, but one thing now, y'all don't put it out that I'm against trucks. 'Cause I know if you've got it, a truck brought it. And I got trucks, but there is a place for them, and right now I don't think exit 24 was it. I appreciate y'all considering it.
All right. Thank you.
See you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I would say put that on our next agenda, but we're not gonna have another meeting till January.
This tomorrow. yeah.
Tomorrow.
We need-
Council votes on it tomorrow night? Is that what you just said? So then I make a motion that we draft a resolution supporting this project and the benefits that it'll bring to all of Villa Rica, including downtown.
I second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Next question, can Janet, can you do this resolution? Because Tracy, I don't, who will,
We'll work on one tomorrow.
okay,
We'll have to do it with
okay. So y'all can handle that then, right?
And did you note that Matt abstained?
Yeah, Matt abstained since he's on the city council, I guess, right, Matt?
Yes. Yes.
All right, we'll move on down to the next item for future agenda. Executive session, have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, that is 6:47 for Tracy's record. We'll go ahead and call a CBD meeting to order at 6:48. Has everybody taken a chance to look over our minutes from our last meeting?
Yep.
If so, do I hear a motion?
A motion to accept.
Okay, a motion from Kimberly and
And I'll
a second
second.
from Carl. All in favor? All right, Bill abstained since he wasn't here. Then financial report, I believe Mr. Carl has handed us a copy
Yeah,
of that.
everybody should have a one pager, it's front and back. And on one side, if you look at the side that is just for October, if you look up in the top left corner, you'll see October 2019 on the other side of what you're looking at there. There you go. So if you look at the one that's just for October, so that's just the last month.
Okay.
And then the other side is for the year-to-date up to last month. I wanted to point out last month because you'll see a big zero in the tax collections from the city because we have not received a check. So I don't know what's going on there, but we reached out to, and I think Sarah's not here right now, so. But when Sarah gets back, we'll try to figure out what's going on there. Because they're stiffing us for our money right now, Tom. Earning interest on our money. But other than that, you'll see that everything is in line with the budget in terms of expenses. They're a little over just in October, but that is because of the brochures that we talked about last month that we approved that's actually outside of the budget. But I found some money, and so if you look at the yearly one, if you flip over and look at the yearly one, you'll see that we are on track for the year. I just moved some things around from some other categories since we approved that brochure last month. And we're behind in revenues only because we haven't collected last month's yet. I had September. I've got one for every month except last month. So, well, I think what we get in October is for September. So that's probably what she's talking about. But even without last month's check, we're only $4,000 behind budget. And so as long as last month's check is more than 4,000, and it should be around 12,000, we're still going to be ahead of budget. And if anybody has any questions on any of the financials, just speak up.
Any question from Carl? If not, we'll move on down to number 4, old business. Any new business?
You don't want another $7,000? Okay.
Public comment? Items for future agenda? Executive session?
I assume we're not having a CVB meeting next month either, since we're not having the DDA, just to make that clear. Okay.
All right, it's 6:51. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous. So we'll see everybody. She'll let her cut this off first, so.